Hi friends, I'm Kate. This is Yoga for Bone Health. Tip up just a little bit more. And today we're going to do standing poses. So have a wall, have a chair, have some blocks. No dogs required, but if you have one, they're welcome to join. All right, so the first thing we want to do is come into our mountain pose. So we're going to practice that four corners of the feet. Big toes press into the earth. Outside edge of the heels press into the earth. Notice that. And then we're going to go up to the pinky toe. Maybe spread the toes apart. Push the pinky toe in. And then the inside heel. Inside edge of the heel. All right. So then with our mountain pose, you can have the arms down by your side. I like to open my palms facing forward. I feel a rotation in my shoulders, and it brings my shoulder blades closer together on the back body. Just something to maybe notice. And then we want to shine this heart light. So imagine your heart center, your light shining. So I want to shine it up towards the sky. And most important here, we want to breathe. Beautiful. And this is if you feel a little wobbly at all. Want to extend through the crown of the head, root the feet down into the earth, having a wall handy. If that's still a little too wobbly, you can always step your feet wider apart, maybe hip width feels better, or maybe even wider if that's more comfortable. Beautiful. All right, let's take two more full breaths here. Excellent. All right. Our next pose, we're just going to do a simple back bend. And what I want you to do is, again, if you need it, a wall or a chair. And if you'd like, you can have the feet hip width distance or wider, depending on your stability today. So a couple things to keep in mind. If you feel a little dizzy, come back, hold on to something. And the other thing we don't want to do is just cinch the neck back and compress the back of the neck. So we're going to use our gaze to keep space in there. So we're going to inhale and feel the lift of the whole spine all the way up. And then we're looking straight ahead, out towards the horizon, and we're just going to lift our gaze up as we keep that spine elongated. And wherever you get to, that's fine. So this is a back bend, even though I don't look like I'm going anywhere. I am bending in there. So I'm going to do a side view for you. Looking straight ahead, gaze comes up towards the ceiling. Keeping that spine elongated. Arms can be by your side or out to the side or holding on to a chair or a wall. And just take a couple breaths here, just going as far as is comfortable. You don't want to go any further than you can't come back from. And then to release, use the gaze, come back to the horizon. Beautiful. All right, you know what? Let's do that one more time. Find the feet rooted into the earth, the four corners. Inhale, lifting that spine nice and tall all the way up. And then on your exhale, looking straight ahead. And follow the head, follows the gaze. And then exhale, come on back. Beautiful, excellent. All right, so our next pose is called Leaning Goddess. I prefer horse over goddess because I feel like I'm riding a horse instead of the other way, but doesn't matter. It's just the pose. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the feet out a little bit wider, and we're going to point the toes out at an angle. So that's straight towards the top of the mat and then out at an angle. All right, and our knees are going to track towards that second and third toe. So we're bending the knees. And then we're doing a bit of a lean. So we're hinging at that hip here. We're not bending and rounding the spine. We want to keep that spine tall and long. All right, so what you can do is bring your hands down the thighs, or you can keep them up on the hips. And we want to breathe here. So on your inhale, you're lengthening the spine. On your exhale, leaning into your pose. So feel the feet doing the work, activating the muscles, the bones, ligaments and tendons in the feet. There's a lot going on in the feet. Excellent. All right, so if you want to get a little deeper into this pose, maybe this is your first time doing it and you're done, that's fine. Stand up and come out. If you've done this before and you want to go a little deeper, you can leave your hands here. Maybe walk the feet out a little bit more. Hands can come down towards the knees. And so we're using more strength in those thighs. We keep the torso, the spine long and strong. Now let's take one more breath here. So we're going to inhale and exhale. Beautiful. And then push the feet in, coming up. And then you can heel toe the feet back together. Beautiful. Excellent. All right, next we're going to come into a straight up balance pose. So I would say the quintessential yoga pose is the tree pose. So what we're doing with our tree pose is we're shifting our weight onto one leg to help strengthen that leg. The other hip is open and we're breathing. So first of all, breathe. That's most important. And then a couple of options here. You can use a wall. I like to use a chair sometimes with the tree pose because what that allows me to do is come into the pose a little deeper. So we're not here for how we look, we're here for what the function is. So the function is to build strong bones. And to do that, we need to activate these muscles. All right, so we're gonna pick a foot. I'm gonna go with my right foot first. It's gonna stay rooted into the ground. Four corners, oops, that was 5. 4 corners of the foot activated. And then the second foot, you can start, we've got a couple of options here. You can go tripod, so toes on the floor, heel above the ankle of the opposite foot. You can come up to the calf. So right now I'm kind of leaning into this hip. You can see that pretty good. So we want to make this strong here. So the weight is going into the leg, not out to the hip. All right. So because I have my hand and I'm not gripping onto the chair, I'm lightly touching. So we can do this. So I don't want pressure on the knee. There's all kinds of small ligaments in there that tear easy. So the option is to bring the foot up above the knee. So if you can't reach that, that's totally fine. Stay below the knee, just not on the knee. And so by doing this, if you're able to come up higher, you're putting more weight onto this straight leg, causing it to work harder. All right, so if this is uncomfortable, we'll go down here. So I'm going to use the arms a little bit here so this is easier when I'm moving about. So you can have hands on the hips. Always have the chair or the wall handy if you need it. You can have hands at the heart. You can grow your branches. Arms can come out. So if you have a little bit of curvature in like that kyphotic where you're doing this, this might be more comfortable and opening than coming straight up. So this feels better. And then maybe even bring the arms back a little bit. Oops, I'm bumping into things here. Straight out, or wherever the arms feel like they want to be today. All right, so checking back in with that hip. Gonna release this leg and shake out the other one. Feels good. All right, let's go to the other side. All four corners of the foot rooted. You can start with tripod and come up to the calf, or if you like, up above the knee. So I did most of the other one at this level. I want to keep the sides as balanced as possible or as even. All right, and then what do we want to do next? Breathe. Get the breath going. So we're going to inhale down the back body, exhale up the front body. That helps the movement of the respiratory diaphragm. Keep it going where it's supposed to, down the back, up the front. And then if you want to add the arms in whatever fashion you like or prefer. This feels good. And if you can, so I'm going to throw one more ball at you. We're breathing, we're balancing, we have our arms out. We're going to shine that heart light up again. So we're going to imagine up towards the sky. Excellent. And then let's take 2 more breaths here. I feel like we talked a bit. I talked a bit on the first side. All right, here we go. And then when you're ready, coming out nice and gracefully. And we're going to shake that side out too. All right, so next we want to come into, we're going to do 2 things to prep for our triangle pose. So we're going to do the knees for warrior 1, and then we'll do warrior 2, and then we'll do our triangle pose. All right, so for our warrior 1, I turn one foot out and step the other foot forward. All right. Go that way. You can sort of see my foot, maybe? Not really. That's okay. So here's what we're doing. So we're tracking this knee. Second and third toe. All right, so here we go. So we're going to inhale. This is our straight leg. Exhale, bend. And again, if you have the wall or chair, if you've done this a lot before, if you're comfortable with it, you can add the arms in. I'm doing this especially just for the knee. Excellent. Don't forget to breathe. All right. Let's bend that knee, push up, step back, go to the other side. All right, so here we go. So we're aiming for that second and third toe, approximately. Inhale, straight leg, exhale, bend. And again, you have that wall handy or your chair. All right, 2 more. Inhale to straighten and exhale, bend. Excellent. All right, push up, step back. And then let's come into our warrior 2. So we are doing our warrior 2. We want to think about where the rib cage is in space when we're doing this. And we're going to, step 1 foot forward, back foot is at an angle, closer to 45 here. And then the torso is going to face off to the side, hands at the heart, arms open to the side. And we're going to extend out through the fingers. So we want to pull the bones in and send the muscles out. And then from here, we're going to bend that front knee over that front ankle. So see, maybe notice where the weight shifts when you move that knee. Nice. All right. So let's just pause here, take a couple breaths. Very nice. All right, and let's just do one of each. So we're going to do side angle pose first. We're going to bend that front arm and bring the forearm down to that front thigh. This back arm can rest on the hip and go straight up towards the ceiling or come overhead, bicep by the ear. I kind of prefer this, but this feels good too. All right, so now we're going to come into peaceful warrior. So we're going to take this upper arm, if it's up, and windmill it down. If it's on the hip, we're just going to inhale, bring this front arm all the way up towards the ceiling, going nice and slow. Have the wall or a chair near you. And here's the fun one. So the arm can come down and stay on the hip. And we're going to play with where our gaze is. So you can look straight at the camera, which you might be. The horizon. Can maybe look up towards that upper thumb. Look at my thumb here. Or maybe at the ground if that feels more safe or secure. All right, so let's come back to warrior two. Take a couple breaths here. Gaze should be over those front fingers. And then we'll drop the arms and step the feet back together. All right, so let's do the other side. All right, feet are lined up, hands at the heart, arms open to the side. You're gonna bend that front knee over that front ankle and pull the bones in, extend the muscles out, those energy lines. Or what else do we say? Hug the muscles to the bone, engage the muscles. We want this to be active, not passive. How about that? All right, gaze over those front fingers. Take a couple breaths here. Excellent. And then let's do our side angle pose first. So we're going to bend that front arm. Forearm comes to that front thigh. Back hand can be on the hip, up towards the ceiling or overhead, depending on how that feels for the shoulder. I like to do straight up towards the ceiling, like I said, but you pick what works for you. So the other thing we want to do is extend the spine, so the crown of the head up, tailbone down. Not straight down towards the floor, but back. There you go. All right, one more breath here. And then we're going to, if that arm is up, bring it down towards that leg. Other arm comes up. And then you pick where you want to look. So you can look straight ahead, look at the floor, or up at that extended thumb. So maybe notice how the weight feels different in the feet. Notice the four corners of the feet, of both feet. Maybe it feels different on one side than the other. Left to right, when we did it the first time versus the second time. Excellent. All right, one more breath. And then we'll come back to warrior two. Extend out, compress in. It's not bad. Gaze over those front fingers. We'll take another breath or so here. And then drop the arms. And we'll step the feet back together. All right, so now our fabulous triangle pose. So we're going to come back to the first side. Same feet, but we're going to keep that front knee straight. So I don't know if you can see what my knee just did here. So I'm hyperextending my knee. So I want to make that leg closer to straight, or maybe even bent a little bit. All right, so we're going to bring our hands to the heart. And here is where, if you have blocks, grab a block. You can also do this with a chair. And I'll just have the chair handy so you can see. All right, so hands at the heart, arms open to the side. We're going to keep that front leg mostly straight. And we're going to extend forward. And then we're hinging at this hip crease. See that? We're not bending over. We want to keep the spine long and strong. So we're hinging at that hip crease. And then the arms kind of like clock arms, tick-tock. So you can come down to that block if you can reach it. If not, come to the chair. So the idea is not to necessarily get down to the floor, because if you have to come down to the floor, look what we just did. We just compressed everything that we want to elongate. All right, so I'm actually going to stay up on this chair because it feels great. And I'm getting that nice length in that front leg, long in the torso. So extension, and I've got a bit of a twist and a little bit of a lateral. So we got a lot going on here. So I can feel this in that back hip joint. And just notice where you're feeling it. You're not going to feel it in the same spots that I am necessarily. I can feel this in my neck. So I want to extend. Looking up, looking down. I want to keep that long line, neck and spine. All right, let's take one more breath here. And then using that upper arm, pull up, push in with the feet, bring the arms back to a T, and then we'll drop the arms. And step the feet back together. All right, let's go to the other side. I'm just going to move my chair here so we don't disturb the sleeping dog here. All right, so foot up front by your chair or your block. Back foot is closer to 90 degrees now. Again, it's function over form. So the function of this is strengthening these bones. If your foot's at slightly different angle because of something that's, the length of your leg or something like that, that's not what we're not looking like a magazine cover. We want to move the right pieces in the right parts. All right, so we're going to send out the arms. And then again, hinging at that hip joint. So we're going to come forward and then tick-tock the arms. Look at that length on that side. And then I'm just going to come to the chair this time. You can come down further if that feels good. But again, we want this opening, strength in this back leg. I'm not hyperextending in that front leg. And if this is too much on this shoulder or arm, you can keep that hand on that hip. Give that extension nice and long in the spine. And keep the breath going. And one side might be easier than the other, depending on habits, past injuries, and just maybe where your camera is, where you can see what's going on. All right, so come out now. We're going to grab that invisible rope, pulling up, push in with the feet, arms come back, and then we'll drop the arms and that front knee and step the feet back together. Excellent. All right, so our last standing pose is going to be a wide-legged forward fold. So again, depending on how it feels in your body is how wide you want to bring your feet. So I am going to go, I have my mats going in a T. Not that you can see that, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is bring my chair. I'm going to go at an angle so you can see kind of what I'm doing a little bit. So I'm going to go nice and wide with the feet. This is wider than a mat width. So you can go sideways on your mat if that works. And I'm going to suggest, obviously I can't make you, but using a chair is going to help kind of orient where in your body that you want your spine to be. So if we go all the way down to the floor, our legs take over, which if that's what we're looking for, that's fine. But today we want to lengthen that spine. So again, we're hinging at this hip. We have flexion without rounding the spine. I can just come down like this all day long, but I have this rounded spine. And for bone health, that's not necessarily a good thing. It's actually not good at all. All right. So feet, all four corners of the feet are planted, rooted into the earth. We're going to hinge at the hips here, right here at that crease, and then coming to the chair. So if this is too far, come to the top of the chair. I'd flip it around, but you get the idea. Or just the counter, or just the wall. You could just come to where you need to be. All right, so I'm here. You're where you need to be. All right, and before we do anything else, we're going to check in with the feet, rooted. Knees are soft, not hyperextended. Maybe a little soft bend if that's comfortable. And the other thing that I need to remember to point out is this hyperextension of the elbows here. So we want the elbow creases. Somebody calls it the eye of the elbow. I find that kind of creepy, but so this crease here, so my elbow goes out to the side, the inner crease, so they're facing each other. So if you want to just play around with that for a little bit and feel if it's noticeable all the way up in the shoulders or not. So when you lock your elbows, you're not getting that muscle strength. So it's, you want to have the muscles activate the bones. If the bones or if the muscles are locked, they're not doing any work. All right, so what are we doing here? We're extending the head, crown of the head away from the torso, tailbone away. So you've got a nice long line. And if you want to come down further, but you don't want to go all the way down to the ground, maybe you want to come down to the forearms. That might feel a little bit more stable, but we want to, again, keep that strong, long spine. Soften the knees. You don't want to lock the knees up either. And what you actually can do is pull the kneecaps up towards the hips. That might activate some muscles in, I can feel it in my feet and my thighs and my calves a little. So that's something to maybe notice and play with. You just don't want to hyperextend and then do that. So you want to keep it soft, activate, and then relax. All right, to come back out, we're going to bend the knees. If you've come down lower, come back up. And then we're going to heel toe the feet in just a little bit so we're not too wide coming up. And we're going to come up with that straight spine or the long spine, not necessarily straight. So bend the knees. You can bring the hands to the hip crease and come up like that. The other way to do that is arms out, and that's going to help keep you from doing that rounding up. So don't do that rounding up in your other yoga classes. Come up with that long, strong spine. All right, since we did class standing, we will do a relaxation pose seated in the chair. So we're not going all the way down and then coming back up. So we'll do a short little guided relaxation here. I'm going to sit in my comfy chair. So find a comfortable seated position. So you can kind of do a couple things. So if you have your blocks handy, you can put your feet up on your blocks. I'm just gonna, this is quicker, grab a rolled up blanket and just bring my feet up so my knees are higher than my hips. So that's comfortable for me. It might not be comfortable for you. Or feet flat on the floor, either way. Just feel the feet rooted into the earth. You can have the hands face up or face down. And then we're going to imagine the back of the neck is nice and long. And we're going to imagine that it's coming towards the back wall. So just gently, not forcing it, just nice and gentle. And take a moment to find your breath. And we're going to imagine a spot just past the tip of your nose. And that's where we're going to bring our attention. So we're going to keep the breath going. Focusing on that space just past the tip of the nose. If it's comfortable to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. And just feel the effects of your practice. Slowly relaxing the muscles. Feeling the strength of the bones. With each practice getting stronger. And when you're ready, we'll bring our attention back to the breath. Bringing your attention back to the room, where you are, where's the walls, the floor, the ceiling. And then if you've closed your eyes, you can flutter the eyelids open. And thank you for joining me. Namaste.